I want to tell y'all something else I've been thinking about a lot lately. Not because someone told me to think about it, not because I read it in a book, but because the older I get, the more I feel the reality of it, the weight of leading a family. And when I say weight, it doesn't mean something negative. I don't mean a burden in the sense of regret, right? I mean responsibility, the kind of responsibility that changes the way that you think, the kind that causes you to look beyond today, and the kind that makes your decisions matter more than they used to. So there was a time in my life where most of the decisions primarily affected me. If I made a mistake, I dealt with the consequences. If I wasted time, I paid the price. If I made a bad decision, it was largely my problem to solve. But life doesn't stay that way. Eventually, you'll realize that there are people connected to your choices, people who are depending on you, people who are watching you, people whose lives are affected by the direction that you're heading in. And that realization, it changes something inside of you. At least it should. Because leadership isn't about authority, really. It's about responsibility. Because some of the strongest leaders that I've ever seen, they weren't the loudest people in the room. They weren't obsessed with control. They weren't constantly reminding everyone that they were in charge. They simply carried responsibility well. They showed up, they stayed steady, they absorbed pressure without passing it on to everyone around them. And the more that I think about family, the more I realize that's what leadership often looks like. Not dominance, not perfection, and not having every answer, but steadiness. There are days where I feel confident, days where I feel capable, days where I think that everything seems to be moving in the right direction. But then there are days where I feel the full weight of everything I'm responsible for, providing, protecting, guiding, making wise decisions, thinking about the future, our future, not just mine, preparing for the things that I can't even see yet. And if I'm being honest, that weight, it can be intimidating because no one hands you a manual. No one arrives one day and says, congratulations, you're now fully prepared for every challenge that comes with leading a family. Most of us are learning while we're living, growing while we're going, and doing our best with the wisdom that we have today. And that's humbling, especially when you care deeply about getting it right. I've noticed something interesting though. The weight doesn't become lighter because you worry about it. The weight becomes lighter when you become stronger. That's true physically. It's true mentally. And I think it's spiritually true as well. The goal isn't to eliminate responsibility. The goal is to grow into the person who can carry that responsibility. Because responsibility is often evidence of trust. If you're entrusted with a family, if you're entrusted with children, if you're entrusted with influence, then the question isn't about how to escape the responsibility. The question is how to become worthy of actually carrying this responsibility. How do I become the man who can carry this well? How do I become the man or the kind of husband my family can depend on? How do I become the kind of father my children can trust? How do I become the kind of person whose presence creates peace rather than chaos? Those are questions that matter. And I've learned that leadership starts long before anyone follows you. It starts with leading yourself, leading your thoughts, leading your emotions, leading your habits on a daily basis, leading your priorities. Because if I can't govern myself, how can I guide anyone else? It's easy to want influence. It's harder to develop discipline. It's easy to want respect, but you know, it's harder to become respectable. It's easier to desire the title, but it's harder to carry the responsibility that comes with that title. And that's why leadership is ultimately an inside job. The family sees what no one else sees. They see your reactions when you're frustrated. They see how you handle disappointment. They see whether your words are matching the actions that you're putting out there. They see whether your values are real or simply things that you just talk about. And that's what makes family leadership so refining. You can't hide behind public images forever. You can't hide behind public image itself. Eventually, the people closest to you are going to experience the real version of you, which means the goal isn't appearing strong. The goal is becoming strong, not appearing patient, becoming patient, not appearing loving, becoming loving, not appearing trustworthy, but becoming trustworthy. Because who we are eventually shows up every single time. Something else I've been learning is that leadership often looks less dramatic than we imagine. We tend to think leadership happens in big moments, big speeches, big decisions, big turning points in our lives. And sometimes it does. But most family leadership happens in ordinary moments. Waking up and going to work when you'd rather stay at home, being kind when you're tired, having difficult conversations instead of avoiding them, choosing patience when frustration is easier, right? Sitting down at the table, listening, paying attention, being present. The world celebrates extraordinary moments. Families are usually built through the ordinary ones, day after day, month after month, year after year. That's where legacy is formed, not through one giant decision, but through thousands of small, faithful decisions. One thing I've realized is that people don't need a perfect leader, they need a trustworthy one. A perfect father, it doesn't exist. I'm sorry. A perfect husband also doesn't exist. A perfect leader doesn't exist. But a faithful one can. Someone willing to keep learning. Someone willing to make mistakes. Someone willing to apologize when necessary. Someone willing to continue growing. Because humility may be one of the most important leadership qualities there is. And the moment that we've arrived is often the moment growth stops. And I don't want to stop growing. I don't want to stop learning. I don't want to stop becoming the man my family needs me to be. Not because I'm trying to earn their love, but because love naturally produces responsibility. When you genuinely love people, you want to serve them well. You want to protect what you've been given. You want to steward it wisely. And that's what stewardship and leadership increasingly feels like to me. Stewardship and not ownership. Stewardship, recognizing that the people in my life aren't possessions, they're gifts. And gifts should be handled carefully. They should be appreciated. They should be protected. They should be valued. The weight of leading a family is real. Some days you'll feel it more than others. Some days you'll wonder if you're doing enough. Some days you'll feel inadequate. Some days you're going to feel overwhelmed. But the right answer isn't to run from the weight. Maybe the answer is to let the weight shape you. Let it deepen your character. Let it strengthen your faith. Let it mature your wisdom. Let it teach you dependence. Let it transform you into someone capable of carrying greater responsibility. Because the weight isn't there to crush you, it's there to develop you. And when I think about the kind of man I want to become, I keep coming back to this. I don't want to be remembered for having all the answers. I want to be remembered for being faithful with what I was given, faithful with my time, faithful with my family, faithful with my responsibilities, faithful with my opportunities, faithful with the people that were entrusted in my care. Because at the end of the day, leadership isn't measured by how many people serve you. It's measured by how well you serve the people that you're responsible for. And that's a responsibility worth carrying. The goal isn't to carry less responsibility. The goal is to become the kind of person who can carry it well. I'm glad you've been here. I'm glad you heard these things. Take them and apply them to your life. Till next time, peace.